Okay, if you watched our last video, I sprayed down the Trans Am with primer sealer, and I gotta let it cure for about a week before I put on more layers. So I started a little project making this hood from scratch. This is off of a tailgate off a old Dodge truck, and it happened to have these curves in it that, you know, looks like a hood scoop. So I welded the two together, and I've got it centered up here. I got a few tack screws in it, and I'm debating whether to weld this rod here and fill it in with a little fiberglass just to continue this bead through the hood. So I'm gonna go ahead and start tacking this down. I got to put a few more tack screws in, and they drilled a whole bunch of holes in it, and they must have had a huge hood scoop on it because the holes are way over here and way over here. So I'm filling those in a little bit at a time, and once I get all that filled in and smoothed out, and then I'll go ahead and finish up welding on the scoop itself. So we're going to see how this turns out. Okay, I got all these holes that were all around the hood all filled in and ground down, and I got these little grinding discs from AutoZone, and they're called Shark because they got some bite to them, you know. So yeah, it took those welds down fast, just flattened them out good. So now I got that done, I'm gonna get me a couple more tack screws, like right here, it's wanting to bow up, and over here I'm gonna throw in some tack screws and see if I can start tacking this down. Okay, I got this scoop all tacked down all the way around on the sides and up in here in the front, and I've got this little piece of round stock tacked down, and now I just got to smooth out all these little welds and even these up here, and that way we can just kind of run the fiberglass down one side, down the other side, run the body file up and down it, smooth it out, and see if we can't get this to kind of blend in. So I'm going to go ahead and start knocking down all these welds. Okay, now that I got my scoop all welded down, I've got some serious oil canning going on here, and what I'm going to have to do is tack it in little spots here and there using these long C-clamps, because you can fill a low spot, you just can't fill a high and low spot. So I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get some tacks in here, get it to stop that oil canning. Okay, we've got the hood over here in the big shop so that we can have some room to work around it. And we got all the oil canning taken care of. It's going to leave some dents and whoopties, but at least now we can fill it without it bouncing up and down. It's pretty well tacked down, no more oil canning. So I think what I'm going to do is use the stripper and clean off all the rest of the old paint, and then we can start working on the body work. Okay, we got her pretty well stripped down to the bare bones, and I'm going to go ahead and start putting some fiberglass around here where I got the hood tacked on, and then down this peak right here. Over here where it's a little ripply, where I was trying to avoid the oil canning, got little tack welds underneath and a little bit high and low. I think I'm gonna have to scuff this up a little bit because it's so slick from the paint stripper, and that way when I put some fiberglass on there, it'll give it some bite to grab it. So we're gonna go ahead and start mixing up a whole mess of fiberglass and see if we can get it laid down on this. Oh, we got fresh fiberglass. Looks delicious. Yummy. Okay, I got my low spots and where it's all ripply all scuffed up with 36 grit so that the fiberglass will have something to bite onto. It's a little couple of low spots here and there, a little bit low here. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can't fill this in and then use the body file and try to flatten it out. Okay, I got enough fiberglass on this hood now that it's practically a Corvette now. So I'm gonna go ahead and start knocking it down with the body file before it gets rock hard. And I'm sure we're gonna have to put on a little bit more layers, but we wanna get this flattened out a little bit first. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that. Well, it's the next day. We got some thunderstorms coming in. We're about to get soaked here pretty soon. But went to O'Reilly's and got some 36 grit for the body file, because the 80 grit, it was like sanding a rock. This is taking it down pretty nicely. It's getting it flattened out. I still got a few high spots I got to knock down. And then we're going to go ahead and put the glazing compound over everything, run the body file over it and do some hand sanding and see if we can't get this looking really good. Okay, since this is a budget build, I got the cheap 1K primer and put a whole bunch of layers on because I had a whole bunch of little defects to fill in. Then I blocked it all out, and as you can see, there's a whole bunch of little spots that are just minor. Now over here, I got some deeper ones. I think they're gonna take just a little bit of the filler in there, and up here maybe a little bit, but I think all the rest will fill up with primer. So we're gonna go ahead and see if we can't get these flattened out. Okay, let me turn this noisy fan off so you can all hear me talk. It's the 5th of July, so you can imagine it's, 95 degrees and humid as hell. So, got some primer mixed up, and what I'm gonna do is go around and spot all these little spots and let that flash over, and then spray the whole thing down, and then keep putting layers on and see if we can get all these little defects out of here with enough primer. So I'm gonna turn that fan back on and do some time lapse. Okay, I've sprayed what I'm hoping to be the final coat of primer on this, and I got some really thick spots where I was trying to fill in scratches, and I've let this cure for about 2 days, so it ought to sand out pretty nicely. So I'm going to put some 180 grit on the DA, try to knock down these ripples and runs, and then go ahead and just block the whole thing down. And then I'm gonna put some of this primer sealer on there, the 1K. That stuff sprays on really smooth for just being the 1K without hardener, but hopefully we can get this thing smoothed out really good and put it back on the car and see how it looks. So we're gonna go ahead and start running the DA over this. Okay, after filling in a whole bunch of Swiss cheese holes and taking some scrap metal and making a hood scoop, a whole lot of fiberglass, glazing compound, layers and layers of primer, and a whole lot of sanding, grinding, and welding, I think she's ready to spray her down with the primer sealer. So she's not going to be perfect. She might have a little waviness to her, but she's going to be smooth because I sanded her to death. So we're going to go ahead and spray on that sealer and set it on the car and see how it looks. Okay, got her all sprayed down, and I put on a really wet second coat. Probably going to need a few more coats, fill in some of the scratches and whatnot, but it looks a whole hell of a lot better than it did before. It's somewhat presentable now. So, I'm going to let this sit and dry overnight. We'll set it on the car tomorrow, just see how it looks. Okay, it's the next day, and the paint's all dried up, and we got her bolted down to the car. And if I can do this one-handed, she functions. I sprayed down all the little weld spots that I did on the inside to hold it from oil canning, and that'll keep it from flash rusting. But we have a 66 Belvedere with a cowl hood. I don't think they came that way, but I think that's about all I'm going to do on this one for now. Later on, of course, I'm going to go over the whole car and fill in all the little tiny defects and stuff. We're getting there. We got the door, the rear quarters patched up, now the hood. We're working on it. One of these days I'll come up with enough money for the floor pans. So that's going to be about it for this video. It's that time of week when we got to upload and edit, and not really sure what I'm going to do next time around, but we'll figure something out. We appreciate y'all watching.